What's going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to the FNCS. Here we are, 2025. We are so back, baby. It is great to see all of you. There's a couple of new things happening in 2025. There's a new format. We're going to trios, but one thing that always stays the same is our analysts. Let's give them a big warm welcome. It's Kelly, it's Vivid. Friends, welcome back to the show. 2025 looking real good for us.
I cannot believe it has been 5 months since the Global Championships, 5 months since we have had an FNCS broadcast. I have missed everyone, all the viewers. I hope that you guys are excited to get into some NA action.
Yeah, all of us over here, right, had the dusty old cobwebs off the cameras here, get back into the action of things. And listen, speaking about action, so much of it has already happened. That switch to trios really just caused so much commotion amongst the scene, like who's going to be partnering up with who. I mean, heck, we even had some switch ups just a couple of weeks ago, but now FNCS has started. It's time to get serious. So excited.
Man, we'll talk about all of that and more as we prepare to jump into game number 1. For now, let's start things off with that new format. What is different? Well, as you guys have seen and followed in the last few years, we've had the series point leaderboard, right? You kind of been playing for cumulative points, and that's kind of seeded you into different settings and standings and playoffs and stuff like that. The difference here is we actually had to play in stage, and when we had that kind of going on, that actually seeded some of these trios into different heats, Kelly.
That's right. The top 99 teams have moved on from the play-ons into 3 different groups. We're going to be watching 33 incredible trios today. And in case your favorite team isn't here competing this weekend, chat, and you're wondering, well, where are they? Well, next weekend we have group 2 and 3s, so keep your eyes open for that. But from these 33 trios, if you get a win, that's an automatic ticket into the major finals. Also, if you get top 5 consistency, that'll get you there as well.
Yeah, so we're going to have 30 teams actually going into the finals from these group stages, which leaves us with 3 more slots available, which if you saw in that graphic right there, it leaves room for the last chance qualifier where 3 teams will go through. And listen, that last chance, it's always very, very spicy. I mean, just over on EU, we had some big name teams not make it out of their group, so we'll have to be seeing them over there. Let's hope for some of these bigger name teams on NA, it's a little bit different.
We hope. Now, not only are we seeing some new things, there's also a new chapter. Chapter 6, Hunters, is upon us. I love this kind of aesthetic. Everything about the map, the weapons, everything is so unbelievable. So obviously there's a ton of new POIs, but maybe you guys could highlight just a couple for us to kind of get us in tune with what we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, let's take a quick look over a Night Shift Forest over there, highlighting some interesting trios that we actually have. Nick, Lix, and Eddie, kind of an unknown trio, is going to be landing over here, contested by a more notable team, 20, Larson, and Walkers. But I'm really excited for Eddie's trio here. They only have 1 FNCS Finals performance between the 3 of them.
Nice shift for us. Very, very good. All of those elemental chests over there. Switching gears over to the east side of the map towards Demon's Dojo. Of course, going to be featuring that boss fight with Night Rose, who of course is going to be dropping that Night Rose medallion. And that's something that players definitely want to get their hands on, or at least you would think so if you look at the drop map today, because there's going to be 3 teams landing over at this POI today.
And then, of course, a very popular POI, Flooded Frogs, is going to be landed there by Shadow, Tyler, and Curve. Fortunately for them, Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual not going to be in this group, so they no longer have claim over that POI. So really interested to see what they're going to be doing there.
Yeah, that little secret spot, right? Requiring the Void Unimask to be able to get into. I'm excited to see people fight over this POI. Let's talk about the Rift Island. So it's kind of the same in that there is a Rift Island, but it's different in that now there's Shogun X up there guarding the whole space with a brand new medallion.
Yeah, that's right. Like you said, the Shogun's Arena, very similar to the Rift Island in the fact that it can give you loot, it can give you much needed break, as well as vision and rotation opportunities. But Shogun X is the big guy here, and he drops that incredible Shogun X medallion, also called the Wanderer's Medallion, which gives you infinite stamina and, more importantly, cloaking while sprinting. And one of my favorite uses I have seen with this medallion during the play-in was definitely from Bryce's solo clutch. We see Reet, Bert, and Bryce were able to grab the high ground, but get chopped out of height, and Reet was actually the one holding the medallion. Bryce is able to see the person that stole it away, gets the elimination, and then gets the medallion, and then instead of going down in like 11th place, he's able to sneakily make his way through the low ground, get a few eliminations, and then go down in 4th place instead. And as we know, with consistency being important, being able to just make it a few more placements can really make or break your team.
Oh yeah, can definitely always be the difference maker. But listen, that island fighting Shogun X, it seems like you're just up there forever fighting the boss. Like everybody's obviously gonna notice you're up there fighting, but I think the time invested into going ahead and claiming that medallion is definitely worth it.
Absolutely, man. Infinite stamina. We're like this. We super tight. One final thing to discuss are the brand new boons in the game. They're kind of like these little buffs you can kind of pick up as you're navigating opening elemental chests. But there's one in particular you guys wanted to highlight.
Oh yeah, I would not say that the Void Boon is a little buff. It is a very big buff, especially in the hands of someone like Clix, Batman Booga, and Iamzo, who go incredibly aggressive in their game. And with them landing over in Lost Lake, they're actually able to grab 2 Void Boons there, one through the Elemental Chest, another through the mini-boss, and it really just supports their aggressive playstyle. Whether that's them chasing down players in the early and mid-game, or especially in the end game, where they kind of like to stay in the low ground, kind of navigating all the chaos there, and they're just able to grab elim after elim.
Being a an old retired professional Fortnite player, this mechanic with the Void Boon kind of reminds me of the shakedown mechanic that we had years ago, right? You would knock a player, you would go over to them, you would shake it down, you could kind of find out where their teammates are at. But this Void Boon, that effect kind of happens instantly, and it definitely plays into that momentum-based playstyle very, very well, which is why we see some of those aggressive teams work so well with it.
Do you guys think that any other boons are kind of worth it, right? So obviously this Void Boon, quite powerful. Like you said, it's kind of a shakedown. So any of these other things worth kind of noting right now?
I think the Water Boon can definitely be, especially depending on where the zone pulls, can be incredibly beneficial to some teams that need more heals.
Definitely couldn't agree more. I mean, I've seen several strategies when it comes down to Storm Surge, right? You pick up that Water Boon, you can kind of just go trade tags, right? And just sit in the water and kind of regain some of that damage that you're taking.
Okay, we'll have to keep our eyes out on some of these boons throughout the game. But first, let's give a big welcome to your casters, Jacob PR, Monster D-Face.
Thank you, Zeke. That's right. We are going to be calling the action. Group 1 here for the major. I mean, I couldn't be more excited, Jacob, to be casting with you. It's going to be a ball of a time right now, especially since we got Clicks up on the menu.
Yeah, trios wasn't the only thing being shaken up through the offseason. The teams had some late changes as well. Clicks, we're talking about and we're raving about how good they've been. That's not the team that they first had. Iamzo, Batman Booga, they went through Mason, they went through Virgo. Clicks was free and then they swapped on over to him. There were so many teams making these late changes that they're hoping they can succeed from it.
Usual NA fashion, giving us a good shakeup, and now we get to watch how it's all going to play out here for Group 1. I would say this is going to be a roller coaster of the next several weeks, especially as you start gearing up for the future. But for now, we are going to have to focus in on what is at play here. This lobby list is very interesting, of course, as there are multiple teams fighting for some of the stronger drops, like we highlighted a little bit there, Jacob, and I can't wait to see how it all goes down.
Yeah, like our analysts were already alluding to, EU already showed it doesn't matter how big of a name you are not safe today. But there's still plenty of action to break down. Zeke, analyst, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jacob PR. Fantastic to have you. I love that Frankie kind of called out the EU was the better region. We all know which one the better one is. Welcome to it, Jacob PR. Let's kind of talk about a few more things as we prepare for game number 1. Specifically, the kind of look of duos versus trios, right? On paper, at face value, you hear trios, you're like, okay, it's like an extra person, right? Like, we're going to see more of what we're seeing. That's actually not the case. There's so much nuance that goes into just adding even a single person to the mix.
Exactly. There's a couple of topics that people like to hone in on when they're like, oh, wow, listen, now we're playing trios. So communication with an extra person being there is definitely going to be a little bit different, right? You have the extra inventory spots on every single team now, 5 more mats. But one thing I don't see a lot of people talk about is kind of the space, right? A space that an entire team can actually control now with that extra person. And this kind of goes through the stages of early, mid, and late game. But first, I want to take a look at mid game and kind of how it looks there. Of course, the time of the game and one of the most important Fortnite competitive mechanics actually happens, Storm Surge. This is the time in the game where a lot of teams go ahead, they try to get their tags in, and with trios now, the teams can be a lot more spread out, right? They can actually claim a lot more space together. If we take a look at some of these arrows, some of these teams, look at how much space they are actually able to go ahead and hold on to real estate wise right here. Usually in duos, we would see, 2 towers posted up. You're a duo, of course. Now in trios, we can kind of see like 3 towers be posted up on 3 separate hills. And you just have so much control over all of that land now. That space, especially in the middle game, is very, very easy to control.
Yeah, I mean, this might seem obvious, but with it going from duos to trios, we're now going from 50 teams to 33 teams. And with there being even more POIs in this chapter, there's actually, like you said, more opportunity for people to kind of gather more area and space around them, have a bigger territory when they do claim their POIs.
Yeah, exactly. And like I mentioned, this is kind of an idea that happens throughout all stages of the game. And, you know, of course, where all of the magic happens in Fortnite, in the end game, it's also going to be playing a huge part there. I wanted to kind of talk about space and how comfortable trios can kind of feel in the end game now. Of course, very, very small zones that put a lot of these players together. So how much space do you actually really need to feel confident in trios? Let's go ahead and take a look at Clix, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo, an example from them. As you can see right there, they went ahead, they landed front side of zone, and they put themselves just one box away from another team. Now you might be thinking, wow, in duos, like I'm in metal, I might be pretty safe right now. But no, in trios, you have that little extra bit of firepower because you have that extra man on the team. If we take a look at how they go ahead and approach this, Clix is going to prepare the pre-edits, which are of course very, very strong. 3 people shooting a metal wall like it's absolutely nothing, catching a team off guard. 1 box away is not enough space to feel confident in trios. That's how crazy some of these competitions are going to get.
And speaking of crazy, Vivid, you brought it up just at the start there, saying that comms obviously having an additional person. Viewers, if you have not been able to watch the comms of Clix's trio while they're in, not even in-game, just the entire game, please do yourself a favor. It is, and I say this in the most positive way possible, one of the most nauseating experiences I have ever had. I do not understand how so many people, plus their coach BloodX, can be speaking at the same time, and yet somehow they are still on the same page and able to execute time and time again.
Well, as I heard here, you guys got to check that out for sure. Thank you for that, Kelly. We like that. Yeah, so as you can see, there's so much more that goes into just adding that extra person. I like to kind of think about it, you know, in the past, going from duos, if your duo mate goes down, it's just you 1v2. But now, when that player goes down, it's still a 2v3. You can still make things happen. And when you kind of tie that back to Vivid kind of talking about this space, it's not over, right?
Yeah, no, definitely not over at all. And, you know, listen, more on the topic of space, right? We got that extra person on a team now, which means that every single team is going to need more loot. So I want to go ahead and take a look at kind of some of the numbers. How do the contested drop spots of trios kind of compare to duos of last season? So I went ahead and took a look at group number 1 and how many teams are actually going to be contested throughout the games that we actually watched today. And if we go ahead and take a look at what the map actually looks like, see where all the teams are going to be contested. If you add up all of those numbers, it's going to be a total of 16 teams being contested, which 16 times 3, because there's 3 players on each team. That's going to be 48 players total feeling the effects of being contested. And I was like, well, how does that kind of compare to duos, right? These trios need more loot. Like maybe there's going to be a difference in how many players are actually contested. And no, I went ahead and take a look at Chapter 5, Season 3 NAC Grand Finals last year. And it was actually the same amount of players, 48 players were contested last season as well in a completely different game mode. So we're kind of going to be seeing the same kind of effects and fights in the early game.
And something that we'll also be seeing again is that because once a team does win, they are no longer going to be playing in this group stage. Some of those contested teams might try and take up a POI from a team that just won.
We saw a little bit of that in EU, right? The moment that a trio becomes uncontested or a spot suddenly goes from 3 trios to now down to 2, that becomes a target, right? Like, hey, someone's out. Maybe we can look to kind of apply that and get a victory out through that, because again, we either need a victory out or we need to come top 5 through consistency. What are you guys hoping to see coming into today?
Ooh, I hope that we don't see Clix's trio get the first victory royale so that we can see them play more than just one game, because I don't want to wait another 2 weeks to watch them play in the FNCS, but I might be asking for too much.
I guess this is the part where we kind of, you know, lean on old memes, right? Maybe they'll win the 4th game for us, huh? 4th?
Oh, no.
Wow. Wowie, 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 wow. Well, we'll see what happens, because it is that time. All right. The first game of the day is ready for us. We'll have 5 today. And once again, big reminder, Victory Royale or top 5 at the end of these 5 matches will auto-qualify a trio straight through to the Major 1 finals. With that being said, it's game time. Find your seats on the bus. Casters.
Thank you so much. And what a long road it has been just to get here, from the FNCS trials to the divisional cups, the play-in stages, to now we are at the Group 1. Golden opportunity for any one of these teams.
That's right, and again, we're going from duo seasons into trios, so forget all that you've watched go down within the divisional cups in those weekends. It's all different now. Rosters have changed leading into the weeks. We have trios that have seemed to solidify themselves now, and for game 1, you want to be that first one. Of course, send yourself to the final. So we'll see here shortly, Jacob, and we know there's even going to be action off the drop because, I mean, it's Fortnite, right? Look at these drop spots that are going to be highly contested here shortly.
Yeah, almost half of the lobby is going to be contested throughout today's competition. But as Kelly says, when one team is winning, another spot opens up. And we've already seen a lot of shuffles in EU's competition. So I expect to see that same thing here today. Depending on if it's an experienced team or non-experienced team, I can really see things working out. But enough with the guesses. Game 1 is ready. Let's get right into it. This is it. A great opportunity for 33 teams. Some of these teams here today don't have even a singular grand finals appearance, so they can make their own history here today. They can start to build their own dynasty within themselves as an individual and a trio.
And one thing to think about this season in general, when you take a bird's eyes view at the loadouts, the type of, battles we're going to see playing out, this is one of the most balanced and one of the most exciting seasons we have seen in quite some time. This chapter is almost perfect for the type of action we like to see. And with that Sentinel shotgun coming into play here, I'm looking forward to seeing how things are going to go down when it matters most. But first, let's jump into the actual action. Some of these areas and teams that we knew were going to be highly contested here already. It looks like Lix, Eddie, and Nick here are setting themselves up for the win and have actually pushed the team out and secure the slurp truck first.
Yeah, you can see a lot of switch-ups already. We've only seen 2 drops already from what we've already seen through the drop maps. A lot of the preparation, the predictions even, things have already been switched up. Nerves are even getting to people, or we're already seeing the tricks from underneath players' sleeves. Maybe they're saying, I'm going to drop here, but only as a plan to psych out their opponents.
Well, here at the Mass Metals, we do know there are 3 teams here. And just like that, I mean, things are going pretty fast. Take a look at from the other side, Jack, Cease and Blake. Cease being knocked right now. Jack, of course, stepping up. What it matters most, probably making this look nice and easy here shortly. All of a sudden now, they find themselves in the lead.
He's slowly but surely becoming a little bit of a household name. Only one FNCS final appearance, playing with experts with Blake and Cease, who I feel like are like a main staple when it comes to a finals. He's going to win that 1v1, and it was a crucial one because you see both Cease and Blake were down. Now he's going to be hailed as the hero of the early game.
Yeah, that was pretty close, actually. They had the 2-1 advantage there, and things nearly go the other way. Here's a team that I have high hopes for. Aiden, Hound, and higher. Okay, so Aiden, Hound, and higher. Okay, so Aiden and Hound have been playing with each other. Butterfrogs will likely, be claimed in its own right. We'll see here in the weeks to come, but for now, we expect a lot of action here.
Yeah, depending on the loot, this could be a little bit of a mismatch because you got to take note. Hound, Aiden, Hyar, they actually landed at Demon's Dojo. They got the majority of that loot, but Beast Champo and his teammate were landing on the outskirts. They took the mountains. Now the elevation is working against them. You see the pressure coming down. Shields being ripped off Beast, and he's still using the HP for the medkit to make sure he's in the tip-top shape because they have no more big pots. They cannot get to 200 HP and shields.
A bit more of a fight here. Encrypted, Death and Sales seem to be taking the lead here in the first exchanges for themselves. Very, very critical moment right now to find this damage, get these points here to start things off, and all of a sudden we're watching our early leaders start to take away. This is at the Kappa Kappa factory. Again, another drop that we do expect to have heavy contestation throughout this day here. Back on over to Minish and Company's not looking good here as he's down. It's up to Braids here to clutch up. Seems like they've traded on both sides.
Yeah, and this is a dangerous team right here because even when we've seen them in duos, I know it's a little bit of a different format, but Visual and Braids, they're one of those teams that can surprise. They can shock the world. They can win a game, and it looks like they're taking it to this other team. That's Colazo, the OG on the other side. He's dealing with a lot of pressure, and now they're taking the multiple angles, and that is just one too much to overcome.
A big fan of Braids here. Like how they play this out. Very smart, taking good angles here. and all of a sudden they took what was a 2v2 and made it look as if they were just solos on the other side of the barrel. Very well played as our early leaders are starting to run down the stretch here. Batman, Booga, Iamzo, and Clicks have a nice even spread, but Batman Booga, no fear in his heart as he is standing toe-to-toe in the low ground. His team's watching from above, so not too much of a dangerous spot for him to be in just yet.
Yeah, and I think they know a lot of the teams towards the northwest part of the map, if the zone does pull away from there, it's hard for them to get Surge while maintaining their position in terms of rotating. And that's where they tend to take advantage of a lot of those teams, whether if it's direct fight or setting up just like that to try to get Surge. Others taking a different approach. You see the box-to-box, Tony, Zeus, Creon. They're more of an aggressive team as well. They're going against teams that they can look at as, I would say, rookies, not really making it this far in this career before, but we've seen rookies shine before.
Definitely. Tony, Creon, and Zeus is actually very interesting that they've decided to rotate into the Demon's Dojo, knowing that there was going to be 3 teams landing here, and where they should have an advantage, things are quickly turning around. What seems to be not in their favor right now. They're forced defensively, but into the box. Zeus gets deleted here. It does look like Eddie, Nix, and Licks are just a cut above the rest here, but trades are happening on both sides. Just a very important one-on-one for Eddie to win. He pulls the blade out and starts going to town. This Typhoon is definitely dangerous.
I'm not going to say that I haven't dealt with the Typhoon Blade before in close proximity. It just gets so chaotic and hectic. It's sometimes hard to hit those shots no matter how good of a player you are. And Eddie's doing a good job of taking advantage of that and maintaining his distance to move, but it finally got cut short. He finally gets knocked down. Lix is by himself, but he takes advantage of the damage that was already there. Down goes Creon, so an even trade.
Big exchanges here, but no, the pickup might come through. Lix has got to find him. Surely he's got some visual cues here, but not enough for him to know what's going on. It seems like he's going to back off, try to play for the disengage here. Again, he's got the Typhoon Blade, so shouldn't have too much of an issue. Of course, using that extended stamina, being able to dash away, kinetics in hand as well, so a lot at play here. I'm curious to see if Tony and Zeus will push now. But no, they're going to be content, it seems.
Yeah, I feel like they're just trying to beat him to that reboot van. They know Lix is already down. They know that he potentially has to go back for the reboot cards as well. So they're just trying to cut him off on this rotation, get the reboot first, knowing that even if they do get damage, it's not going to be a lot.
I'm thinking Lix is going to try to go for the knock here out the sky. Get ready. Anything can happen, especially with that extra elevation there. But no, back on over to Reet. Surprise contested as well, right? We didn't expect them to have so much resistance here at the Brutal Boxcar. Typically with a notable trio like this, they'll get a drop to themselves, but no eliminations means that, Jacob, they didn't have to fight too hard for their drop. It seems like they're very much comfortable here.
Yeah, they either pushed that team off completely or they just switched up their drops. That gives Reet, Vert, and Bryce all this space. They can take that whole mountain range. And this is what Vivid was actually alluding to when he was showing that map and showing the teams that were actually spread out. They can take so much space over here on this side of the map. And then while other teams in certain drop spots don't have the metal, Brutal Boxcars is a spot with a lot of metal. Teams will tend to rotate in this direction, especially if the zone keeps pulling them and forcing them to.
Metal always so scarce to get a hold of, especially given some of the changes we've seen, kind of teams go back and forth. But right now, it's going to be a matter of getting into a strong position. Death and Company being contested, you can see that they have a bit of an elimination lead over the players in the area here. However, that doesn't give them full advantage over what could be storm damage. That's always going to be high on the list here to make sure that teams are staying active right now, but they're playing a bit of a dead side, actually sticking to this further outskirts here.
It almost even looked like that mountain, the view range, hoping that the zone pulls over in that direction. You can see from one side of the map to the other. 20 Walkers and Larson, another team who made a late change into this group stage to try to go ahead and up their chances of qualifying to the Major 1 finals. The zone's going to pull all the way over to the rest, so their rotation is not done yet.
That's a team that I'm definitely expecting to finish consistently somewhere inside of that top 5 by the time things are all said and done. Possibly even walk out of here with a Victor Royale, but that is the question. Who will win game number 1 and send themselves straight to finals out of the first group? Out comes the Void Oni mask for the rotates here for Braids Diminish and Visuals. Also keep in mind to the fundamentals here. Check every bush with the shotgun shot. No need to take a risk here and walk yourself blindly into an ambush. And this is a good spot right here to be in. Early rotates to get a little bit of high ground. They want to continue to make their way center more or less here.
Yeah, that's a team to when they're positioning, you can see the fishing rod in their inventory. They're going to look to kind of box up, position around water so they can continue to fish those shield fish, the floppers late into the game. Other teams, their surge bases, they're trying to go ahead and utilize them as much as possible before they're forced to rotate in towards the zone. And it's kind of like centering up a little bit more towards the eastern lean, but overall centered up towards the north side of the zone.
You can see how the stats are really highlighting the fact that there are plenty of teams here who have experienced their finals, but more importantly, experienced a win when the win condition mattered to send themselves to finals. But that is a minority of the server population so far, so there are going to be some big celebratory wins here today to come. Some history being made for some players. Curve, Tyler, and Shadow, team that lands, of course, to that Flooded Frogs, given that this is the Group 1's setting here. Does seem to have a very strong loadout, as we'd expect of a team that has the Flooded Frogs themselves.
Yeah, this is a team I feel like I expect, whether if it's a victory royale or through that top 5, that they should make it to the Major 1 finals today. Hopefully I don't curse them for that, but they've just been so consistent. Even with the top teams, Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, them, Acorn's team in the lobby as well, they're still finding a way to place into the top 5. Now you take out some of those teams, shift them around due to the groups, and now they have a better drop spot on top of that. I feel like they have success written all over them.
And Shadow's a great player. He's done very, very well in play-in stages, but here's a team we all want to keep our tabs on. Batman, Booga, Clix, and Yamzo. One of the few trios that have actually more or less broadcasted their entire journey live for the world to watch and follow along with. This is a team that has 3 very strong leaders, I would say, and the comms get crazy once we start breaking our way to endgame. Here it is, though.
Saw Creon trying to get rebooted back. But you can see on the other side, Eddie's team, they're back as well. Rotating kind of together, parallel a lot of the way. Pump Power, another spot where a lot of teams kind of converge to try to gather as much metal as possible. And with the zone pulling in this direction, it is going to pretend to get a little bit more crowded due to the mountain rage just east of it as well.
We'll have to see here. Zone's going to pop now. Pump Power still in play here. Tony, Zeus, and Creon not feeling the congestion here too much. They want to start playing for a little bit more center zone. Let's jump in with Mason and company, though. Already on the move as well. One of the few teams outside of the bubble right now. And off they go with a nice little wide rotate. Notice we're going to see this a lot, though. Wind, Spirits, not necessarily going to be the option of choice here, but the Waters instead. And here it is. Time to catch a medallion. Which one of these trios are going to be the first to go for it? I mean, Jacob, what do you think?
I'm thinking, like, who's going to be brave? I think it's Visual, Braids, and Emissions will at least try to make it up towards the top. They've been the most aggressive so far in this lobby, or at least the most aggressive that we've been blessed to see. And it does look like they're going to be the first ones to make a move. Now the islands are so spread out, you can still make your way up there. No intention to try to fight the boss, just so you can have a better advantage to try to get Surge. We've seen it a few times, but not too much.
Yeah, it's just so risky coming up here for obvious reasons. If you start to get that focus of the boss and it isn't your intent to actually finish it off, we'll see what happens here shortly. Other teams are all coming up. It does seem like they all want a little bit of that visual advantage that we just talked about here.
I wonder if they know they're a duo up there, because they can try to steal that one away. I'm trying to look at the minimap right now. It does look like they may be trying to make their way off, give it up. They're a duo. They see a trio on the other side. You may not necessarily know who it is either. If they're an aggressive team, that's just something that you may not want to fight at this stage in the game.
Somehow Exoff already 5 uses of his Oni mask. So we're not even really deep into the mid game just yet. Things are just getting started here. Look at this super wide spread from 8 and higher in Hound, our Demon's Dojo team, as the zones continue to kind of favor this area, and they just have this on lock. Very, very reminiscent to early chapter days when we had that big volcano in the silo here. Almost feels very, very similar in a sense.
Yeah, that big battle off spawn, so they were able to get those 3 eliminations, getting contested. That kind of allowed them to kind of loot up, build the perfect structure, and kind of stay over here without worrying about surge. With the zone pulling over here, there's so many teams that are going to try to rotate towards that north, make their way in from the west as well, and that gives them all the opportunity in the world. It's just all about where it pulls from here is going to be the big question.
I was going to say, it
Fishing
makes
rod?
sense as to why Hound was down here. He's just fishing this entire time. Team watching the high ground, fishing for storm surge tags, of course.
Uh-oh. Focus was a solo for a quick second. Does look like Pandy is trying to make his way on over along with Owl. They get the short end of the stick when it comes to the pull, just so a lot of other teams do as well all around him. It is going to pull all the way towards the north with the eastern side, so you got to remember that team towards Demon's Dojo, Hound and his trio, they must have the best position on the map right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Look at this. The angles from Owl, Pilot, and Andy. This is how they pick up their first elimination there. Out to Kale, who's out of position. And Pilot had a little bit of the low ground here. All of a sudden, they've attracted this trio next door. It does seem to be more of a desperate fight from Ayo and team here, likely because they know they're going to have problems with damage in the later half of this lobby here if they can't find something here shortly. But Pandy, big pressure in. It's not looking too good for him. The knock goes through, but the teammates take him to go here. They might be able to play for the pickup, but no. The blades are out. They're trying to break in. They have to leave Pandy behind, and the full finish comes through. There's the update on the damage threshold. We knew it might be a problem for some, and I think it's going to come as a nice update to them that they don't have to worry too much about damage here moving forward for a bit.
Yeah, it was much needed as well, because you can saw Ayo had no mobility. He had the fire Oni mask. That's not going to get him across this far pool. There goes a quick shot. They find another elimination, and that is loot that they need. If you look back on a moment and they place in the top 5 and they find themselves in the Major 1 finals, whether it's a victory royale, I feel like this moment right here, these eliminations, this is the turnaround point for this team.
Definitely, as Toronto was the one who really set things up for the win there. He saw, it looked like the shot went off right as the Oni mask went off, and that's how his body was just thrown across there. Now we get an update with Cease, Blake, and Jack here, who are 900 damage above. This is exactly what we expect of any veterans in the lobby. And Nicholas and Eddie, a contested team off the drop, find themselves well below here in a fight inside the storm line. These shots are going to matter so much right now, and he's got heals to work with, but the pressure, too much here as he gets sandwiched just outside the pump power here.
Just unfortunate, because I truly believe those 4 floppers would have went a long way if he had his teammates reboot card. With the zone pulling over here, not that much damage with the storm at this stage in the game. Hey, I'm not saying it would have been 100%, but he at least had an opportunity that was cut short by a whole nother team. As Zay and Vibes, 300 damage above the storm, but their position is being threatened. There's a whole trio right next to him with a rotation to make.
Good to see Ducky and Stacks still pairing up here as well. They're trying to take their trio to the end. Big pressure coming in now. But Walker's largely in 20, one of our veteran trios in the lobby right now. Big damage coming in here from the opposite side, but 20 with the defensive hold here buys Walker's just enough time to go ahead and heal up. They're trying to get together likely for the splash here. No, they have water spirits as well. It's going to fully allow them to reset here. This team has to be careful, but no, caught out. It's going to be a free elimination. They actually find 2 for their troubles here to keep them in the game. And this is only 200 damage above the threshold, so very much barely holding on right now in these moments here.
Yeah, and they get a huge pick-me-up with the loot. Extra heals, good positioning. Everything seems to be working right for them. Zone continues to pull forward. We finally get a glimpse of Batman Booga Yamzo and Clicks late in the game. They're just outside of zone, but just one orb can get their way in, and they find their spot, and they quickly set up a base. And this is a team right here. Even though we know they could win from high ground, they can also dominate and thrive in the chaos that the low ground has to offer. And there goes an example. Clicks not necessarily backing down unless he has to, trying to reunite with his team, but the pressure is on.
I want to see Clicks pull out those pre-edits like he is known to do in this type of trio setting, but they are getting pushed back right now. And A very recognizable 0 eliminations for this trio right now. Not something we'd expect, given that Iamzo is someone who not only leads this team, but typically carries in damage. And that trio of Kayexen is still pushing on with Verge there. We'll see what happens here as we start paying close attention. Other teams on the move right now, Encrypted, Sales, and Death also trying to play for this high ground. They're going to be one of the first teams to get up here now. And I like this spot. I like where Encrypted and company have put themselves in. As far as this game is concerned, they should be setting
Sim,
themselves
ele
up
tá fazendo a
nicely for
transmissão
high
do
ground.
campo, velho.
We'll see.
Yeah, I still might have to watch out for that one team that landed Demon's Dojo, because look where the zone's at. They probably had to move a matter of 50 meters all game long, holding the perfect spot. But I think right here, where they're at, that mid-layer, high ground can't necessarily target them. Every other team has to rotate into them. If they need Surge, they're in the perfect spot.
That's right, that team up there is likely to be still Hound and Aiden. Take a look at the replay though. Batman, Bugha, clicks Niamzo, end up taking on the pressure that comes in from the team on the other side, and they delete them as they walk right into what seems like the trap set from below.
Eu tenho uma dupla preferida no campeonato, né? É Dom Bill e Matheus TV. Te amo não. Tem um cara que chama Te Ama Não.
As Walkers is the last live. When we tuned in, he had 15 uses fresh on an Onimask there. Now down to 13, so it seems like his team just didn't have what it took to catch up in time.
Sargento Red.
And we knew it. We wanted to get a little glimpse of what's happening up above. Hound, Aiden, and Higher still have the high ground here. This is their drop spot as well. Do keep in mind they're likely to have the maximum material here. Comparatively, though, on the low ground, Blake and Cease fighting their way all the way through here. Starting to rack up eliminations here.
Yeah, and you can see their material count is low for at least 2 of the 3 members on the team. So you can see they're trying to figure out a way to get an elimination, get a refresh for those siphon materials or any other resources that they can scramble. But with the 4 pull just like this, majority of the teams stacked this far back, they know it's just too risky at this moment.
First,
Tem time que tá lá na Rosa da Noite ainda. 16 equipe viva ainda.
Being able to farm here, and this is again just knowing your zone, knowing your drop here.
Nossa, fechou lá na Rosa da Noite.
But wait a second, Clicks. Batman, Bugha, Iamzo still in the mix here. Take that Encrypted. The team that had one of the first and early rotates there somehow fall. And that must be just a lack of communication or a big mistake. Either one, they're going to pay for it here, losing that opportunity now to make it to endgame here in game 1.
Yeah, even with Iamzo weak in that moment, Clicks, Batman, Bugha knew the assignment. Hold on to those builds.
Meu Deus, velho.
Rotate to zone. You see they immediately drop down. They don't want to be caught at the high ground this early in the game. There's still 4 more zones to go, and a lot of teams below have the potential to try to contest them.
Look at this, even Hound and Aiden here. They don't want to burn too much material. Notice they are recycling these towers, really trying to do what they can to stay very reserved right now. Out come the Onimask to move across here. They're going to set themselves up. Now comes the commitment with a couple more mats here. But this is going off of the zone.
Eita, velho, 14 equipes, hein?
The crevices towards the water down low. It is going to get very, very interesting here for our high ground teams. Osid and crew, out come all the Onimask. This is where the rotates really start to come to life here. Low ground's going to be even more critical now.
Got to be careful how early you rotate. You don't want to become the target. Higher Hound and Aiden, you see them slowly but surely waiting for all these other teams to rotate first. And then
33 vivos, 14 equipe.
On that high ground, knowing nobody can really contest them. There's 14 teams still alive, and I doubt anybody has had an opportunity to look up and down these mountains. There's so much chaos. Now Mason finds himself in a tough spot, stuck underneath, but luckily another.
A Safe tá dando 9 de dano.
This really is becoming now a who's who of NA here for the group 1. All the teams.
Meu Deus, velho. Olha o tamanho da Safe, velho. Você é louco, velho. 10 de dano. O pessoal jogando até parece a nossa equipe. Você é louco, Luan.
And doing what they do best, they're moving through the low ground, they're claiming as much space as possible. They haven't really had a chance to look up, or at least not just yet, and that's where this team thrives. We talked about the chaos and their communication, but there's also one thing to note. They do not hesitate. When any one of these guys make a call, they all go as a trio, and they bulldoze their way through.
Clixianzo, Batman, Booga had a bit of a slow start here, but they are starting to ramp up
Ô, Luan.
right now. Materials looking a
Olha
little
aqui.
light, though, so I am thinking they are going to need a refresher if they want to win this game. How
Olha a loucura.
and Higher have just played so perfectly, though, on the high ground right
Olha a
now.
safe.
Very little
Tá dando 11, 19 tamanho da safe.
pressure them here as they've managed to secure this positioning this
Ainda tem 18 vivos e 8 equipes, ó.
Hey, yo, that's a little bit of the material that we were looking for him to grab here. Typhoon Blade coming out to help him get up this
Hã?
but Clix left behind now. Forced
Hã?
right down into low ground. Can he find a
Spade?
way to go? He's gonna be the first to go down now. It's up to Batman, Booga, and
Ó.
Yonzo here to clutch out as
A
much
resenha vai o primeiro de 6 jogos, ó. Primeiro de 5. Olha a loucura. Até parecendo essa equipe jogando na final.
Finally, things are looking tough. As G-Money moves up, Osid is there. They have a contestation, and it does look like Aiden's gonna get dropped.
It's
Eita.
really good in these moments here. G Monster to back him up, and Sid. This is a team that has been here for before. They know how to win games, and they've been to final settings. And all of a sudden now, with 3 trios left, it is looking like it is theirs to run away with it, especially since they're only a full team standing right now. Death and Sales as a duo right now are just clinging on, but they have material, they have the mountain, and I mean, it can just be a matter of moments now, Jacob. This team should be winning.
Yeah, Death trying to go up, do something, give himself an opportunity, but it's not enough. Seek just cleans up 9 eliminations.
Meu
Welcome
Deus,
to the
velho.
Major 1 Finals.
It's what we thought would happen, right? A team that we expect, and I think
Cê é louco, olha isso aí.
Clicks load into another lobby, but what matters is taking home that victory royale in G Money. Sid got to do it just like that in the end there. They played it very, very precisely as well there, Jacob.
Yeah, that's going to be the 6th appearance for Seek and G-Money. That's going to be Osid's 3rd appearance in a grand finals. I called this the golden opportunity. Nobody even contested high throughout the majority of the game, but they picked their moment. They picked it perfect, and they took over when it mattered. That is going to have them smiling ear to ear, and guess what? They get the rest of the day.
O Sick e o G-Monster e o WTJ ganharam. Eles estavam em trio. A sessão é em squad, mas eles botaram um trio.
Game number 1. Do you see that chaos? Were you there for it? That's what this is all about, okay? And we're going to get to see 4
Like it
more
is.
games of that. But again, congratulations to this trio. They're going to be going straight to the Major 1 Finals. That means, as Jacob said, hey, they can take the rest of the night off. They can watch, they can learn, they can start forming a plan for the future, their drop spots. Maybe they want to shake things up. It's exciting, but at the end of the day, they got the VR. They're good to go.
Yeah, they are good to go, and now another trio is good to go, potentially looking at Magic Mosses, which is now no longer owned by this trio right here. But big shout outs to Seek, G Monster, and Sid. What an incredible performance. And we saw them during the play-ins. They had a great run. We already saw them grab a victory royale.
Ah, incredible performance não. Eu tenho o Dom, o Matheus, que jogam exatamente assim. Tem o Luan também, é do trio deles.
Yeah, that's the effect of those void masks, right? I mean, we're looking at the zone over here. It's one of those ones where you got to go up the hill, and that's usually very, very hard. But if you can find an angle to throw those masks up, then you can make a play very, very easily for the higher ground. G-Money, Sid, and Seek. Listen, one of the trios, very rare this season to actually stick together, but they have been competing the entire season together. No switch-ups for them, and it instantly pays off in group number 1 here. Congratulations to that.
That's
Let's
right. We'll have
see.
more to break down after this short break, so stay tuned. We'll be back shortly.
intervalo. Os caras jogam muito, velho.
Welcome back, everyone. We just got done with game number 1 of the day. In case you missed out, Seek, G-Monster, and Sid got themselves the Victory Royale with 9 eliminations. That means the next time we'll be seeing them is in the Major 1 Finals. So now we have to talk about that game we just witnessed. This being kind of like the introductory game of this first competition, right? Game 1. What did you guys expect? Did it live up to the hype? Did it live up to your expectations?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, that zone was pretty rough. So to be able to see players be able to use the Void Oni mask to their advantage, or to just be able to stay as long as they could alive, I mean, that is exactly what I want to see in these games right here. And although Hire's trio did their best to hold high ground for way too long, eventually you're going to run out of mats, especially when the zone pulls the way that it did.
Yeah, I mean, returning to a tale as old as time, something that we've kind of seen over Fortnite competitive over the past couple of competitions is always like the discussion, right? How long can a team actually hold a high ground throughout some of those moving zones before they start to get some of those like diminishing returns, right? Can they actually win the game? And for Hire, Hound, and Aiden right there being up on the high ground in the early part of those moving zones, kind of holding it for so long, they just did not find any refreshes to kind of justify staying up there. So eventually it is going to get taken from them, but still very good placement out of them in terms of just gathering points for that consistency leaderboard.
And we really saw them through. Oh, I'm sorry. We really saw them throughout the entirety of the game there. We saw that they were going to be triple contested over at Demon's Dojo. But afterwards, obviously, we can see them with the Mythic Oni Void Mask there. So that means that they were able to take advantage of that contestation and be able to kind of rotate that into this early high ground aggression. I'm guessing with the Mythic SMG as well. They felt like they had a lot more opportunities for that aggression, but unfortunately they do get snuck up on, and Hire here potentially going for just a little bit of a heal off, but obviously when you have 2 other players shooting you down, there's only so long that you can keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I love the kind of chaotic nature of that Void Oni mask, right? In the past, kind of contesting high ground, doesn't always look like that. Like, you know, it's not easy to just kind of appear up there. And now with that, you're like, okay, I'm on high ground, I'm shooting down, and there's all these like projectiles flying across screen. Like, is one of these going to be the one that teleports here? Not that one. What about this one? Not that one. You know, it's a crazy chaotic flow that I'm here for it. As I mentioned before, Seek, Master, and Sid, they are going through to the finals, but we saw someone else performing pretty well here in that 4th place spot. Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Iamzo. Kelly prepared the curse, so we didn't see them win game number 1 because we want to see more of Clicks. And as I pull up my script, it does say here he doesn't win game number 1 because we do want to see more. So thank you for reading my script, Kelly. I appreciate that.
Whoa, if we're talking about curses, Vivid's the one that said that they're going to win the 4th game. So he put the number 4 out into the universe. Everyone blame him, not me.
Well, I mean, listen, it's bound to happen, right? It's Clicks, of course. But something else that's kind of bound to happen is Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Iamzo doing very well in tournaments. They've kind of proven themselves already, even as a kind of a newly formed trio when we look at some of the other trios that are kind of competing. Something that was kind of crazy, maybe not so crazy, was how much damage this trio actually had, right? They had 0 eliminations going into the 6th zone, and I was like, wow, you know, maybe I was kind of expecting them to be maybe a little bit more aggression, but they found their first elim in the 6th zone. That's kind of where they found their momentum to get into that end game right there. Just unfortunately, you know, they found themselves in that comfortable low ground spot that they like. That, you know, the suffocation from the hill, that little bit of a westport just kind of made it really uncomfortable then for them to kind of maneuver.
Yeah, we weren't able to watch it on the stream, but there was a moment where I saw them full wipe a trio, and that just showcases how coordinated they are. It's not like they're picking players apart. It's that once they find a trio in a box, they all go in, just like you called out earlier on in the show, Vivid, that they just have so much communication, so much aggression once they are confident.
O Seek Help fez
I love the
1020
differences of
pontos.
second and third place here, really showcasing that a high elimination game or a high placement game can really propel you up in the standings.
Ó, a prova que não é que FLCS não é quem mata mais, ó. Teve gente que matou mais do que o primeiro lugar e ficou em segundo. Ei, quando terminar aí tu me alcança como fada e liga a luz aí, tá?
We even saw there in a situation where Iamzo had not only the Oni mask, but also the Typhoon Blade. How do you guys feel about this pairing? Do we want to maybe carry both just in case? Like, I feel like that's a good call, but, you know, what do you think?
I think it was more so of just a situation where they don't have heals anymore. There was already so much chaos going on in the low ground. And just in case you need some more mobility, once it does get to that point, you might as well carry one in your loadout.
Yeah, I mean, worked out very, very well, right? That added mobility kind of got him around the builds, up the hill, added a couple of more points there, but turning tails to game number 2 here. We have one team already into the finals. They are no longer going to be playing in the competition, so how are things going to switch up with them out of the lobby?
Well, Vivid, you took the words right out of my mouth. Let's find out together. Casters, let's send it your way for game number 2.
That's right, and that means Magic Mosses now opens up as G Money, Osin, and Seek. We're landing there just north of where Ree and his trio are contested. And those are, of course, teams that are going to need points. And then you start thinking about everyone at the Demon's Dojo. There are going to be mix-ups here now coming up, Jacob.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of mix-up. We already seen it before game 1 even started. Spots we thought were going to be a little bit more contested turned out to be a little bit easier, while others seem to be surprise contested overall. So even if you're thinking Magic Moss is a team 1, how many other teams in the lobby are thinking that same thing? So that's something I definitely have my eye on as we go into game 2.
You are going to have to take the risk if you want to end up on a Victor Royale stage. Let's see it as game number 2 is ready.
Bora lá, game 2.
Jacob, here we have it. Game 2 is underway now. The victory conditions have been set. You saw it play out that just because the zone ends at the Demon's Dojo and you land there, you are not guaranteed to win. What's most important is if you are playing that high ground, you find a refresher. Otherwise, you are going to come up short. Talking about, of course, these contested drops. We get to watch a fight right here for the weapons. Blake, Cease, and Jack are the first laying down, and it's just chaos unfolding. Does seem like the first casualties fall on both sides.
Oh man, that was looking a little dangerous right there, but back up they go, trying to escape on out. That elimination did get cleaned up. Jack finds a knock. On to another one. A very great start for them. It kind of lasted a little bit longer than I think they would hope for, and a little bit scarier in game number 1, forcing a huge clutch up situation. But Jack, someone who has only 1 finals appearance so far, is showing up and showing out for this team.
This is a full-out like surprise contest as well. Like, Cease, Blake, and Jack did not expect to be fully contested like this. When you look at the, you know, where teams were claiming they were going to drop, it was definitely not on top of Cease. So for them to win their drop 2 games in a row now is definitely telling that they might be the stronger trio there. And those points are, of course, going to be hugely welcomed.
You see
Just
this?
off to the west here, though. Yeah, there's a little bit of a standoff.
3 teams at the opened up Magic Mosses, all getting that idea. Eddie, Nix, and Licks was one of those teams that already switched up before game 1, so they probably saw it open up here in game 2, so they thought, hey, maybe we could switch on over, make things happen. And they performed very, very well considering the circumstances that we saw early on in game 1.
Well, we knew a team from the Demon's Dojo was likely going to land here, given that they, of course, had to deal with Hound, Aiden, and Higher, who played exceptionally well, and that is exactly what has just occurred there at the Magic Mosses. It is now a triple count for game 2 by surprise. For Braids, Diminish, and Visuals, they're keeping up the momentum here. A quick set of eliminations at the floodgate. And off they go to start farming up their resources, getting their loadouts together here. Let's not forget, man, getting a top 5 is just as good, of course. A finals seat is a finals seat, so they just got to stay the course and play a good game here.
Yeah, worry about your own game for the most part, because you also got to realize, let's say we go to game 4, game 5, one of those teams inside of the top 5 win a game, that opens up a whole spot on the leaderboard. So you got to be able to have that mental toughness to never give up, because there's always an opportunity going down to the very last and final moments.
That is true. The better teams will funnel points to the top, but it'll just average out once they get taken off the leaderboard. So yeah, plenty of opportunity to jump up a significant amount of spots, so long as you have a solid showing. Jumping into a Cayenne, Steph Curry and Verge here on the move right now. Just on the outskirts here, super south of most of the teams right now in the zone, trying to see if they can find some action here. They're trailing behind the team. I wonder if they know this.
Might be a little too early to tell, but I'm feeling the south zone this game, just judging by what's on the map. But Colazo gets caught out yet again. He goes down. I knew I saw somebody in that mini map. I wasn't 100% sure, but I saw one solo player running around that trios. So another fight's gonna break out. Doesn't seem like Eddie, Nix, and Licks can escape these early game struggles.
Let's watch this play out right now. Licks, Eddie, and Mick here are up 1 on these teams for the early fight. This time, it's not looking too hot, as Eddie's going to be the first to take big damage. The block comes out from the Oni Master, and the Forgotten Wall punishes the team once again here. This trio is having a really hard time right now gathering themselves here. Just seems like Polis is putting way too much pressure in. They're thinking about diving on him.
Going for a straight chop, expose him as much as possible. They know there's at least scratches on him, and they're trying to add more pain to the hurt. Another angle as power goes on the other side, and they're looking to spray through. And that's the huge difference. The Hollow Twisters, they can spray, they can do the damage, but that's why you see the Fury Assault Rifle on the other side, forcing that team with their backs up against that
Ô,
wall.
Lua,
The problem is, though, they are
o Lucas mandou mensagem pra te entrar pra jogar.
looking super light.
Ele tá te esperando.
27 bullets, barely a magazine to go. It seems like they're regretting their decision to kind of drag this one out right now. If they can't get the finish, they're going to have to find loot instead to make up for this loss.
Liga a luz pra nós aí.
It does seem like a full-on disengage from both sides here.
Liga de fora e a de dentro. E se puder, me alcança aqui uma almofada. Depois tu olha a mensagenzinha que tu recebeu lá no grupo lá que o Lucas mandou. Lucas, almofada.
Yeah, not bad. Third place, 5 eliminations throughout that last game, but with the zone
Ela não sai.
pulling over, I feel like that was a moment they really needed to take advantage of, but at least
Pera
they're
aí.
getting the points, moving up the leaderboard, and they're not too far off for zone now.
Ah, eu
See where
acho.
This next one pulls, and this next one where it pulls is going to be really telling
Eu
where the
acho.
end zone might end up.
Yeah, they're gonna need to play for that medal there on into the pump.
Vai deixar só da frente aberta ou vai fechar da frente também?
Let's do a little update here where Reed seems
Huh?
like his loot is definitely
Ai,
starting to
encosta
come
bem
together
ali,
right
não,
now
não,
as
não,
well.
não.
Where's his
Deixa eu
team?
encostar ali.
They're
Encostei um
very
no chão.
spread apart right now. just outside of their drop here of the brutal boxcars.
Yeah, there's a lot of space, and that's the one thing about this drop spot when you do, whether it's contested or not, a lot of that loot is so spread out that you do spend a good portion of the early minutes of the game just trying to scavenge, get that good loadout, or as best of a loadout as you could possibly get. Death sales encrypted, 1 elimination so far. After that last game, I would say momentum is on their side.
Ooh, big knock there onto Kaz for encrypted. Larson, Walker's here in a fight. Donnie, Chance, and Mason playing a low ground right now. Pressure coming in from 20 up above. Tough spot to be in as he loses the wall to Walker's here. Walker's is quick. As far as mechanical players go, he is definitely up there. One of the younger players, just starting to make his rise in the last year or two. More and more finals appearances are coming through for this guy right here.
Tu acha que tu dormiu bem lá na coisa, na tua casa, não adianta. Tu joga e tu diz pro Lucas. E agora quando terminar aqui da FNCS aqui, eu vou logar, mas eu não vou jogar, eu vou logar só pra ficar na cal, só pra ficar no lobby de fora ali. Entendeu? Só pra ficar na cal e ficar olhando você jogar. Se for mapinho, eu ainda consigo talvez jogar, mas assim, play não.
Some damage goes out the window, but you can see his ammunition. 3 shots left in the Oni. Calls for some backup, but that little hit step right there, calling for the ammo, cost them some damage again, giving Walker's 20 and Larson a little bit of a momentum shift.
Little boss.
Now has to slow down. It's going to come down to Larson here if he can find his tag. He finds it onto Mason. That's going to set him up to give a little bit more pressure back, and Chance is trying to take the fight through the wall here. Larson jumps down a layer. He owns all this, but he's out of material now. This is not looking good. He finds a split met from the metal there. And they are just getting collapsed on right now. All of a sudden, things are not looking too hot for this trio here.
Yeah, the back's really up against the wall. The material count is super low, but it almost seems like on the other side, they're getting the same memo. A lot of resources have been expended without a huge advancement in the fight, so they're just going to try and orb their way on out. Both teams really missing a lot and hurting from that last battle. I would say the only saving grace is hopefully both of these teams did just enough damage so they don't really have to worry about Storm Surge this early in the game.
They definitely did a lot of damage. You can see most telling is that the heals are low, not just the material here. So this disengage is for sure warranted, I would say, from both trios. Yeah. And sometimes, you know what? You just gotta, put your pride aside and know when to just back off and
mozão.
Recoup your position back into the tournament.
Yeah, due to especially the 2 win conditions, you don't have to get every single elimination to try to catch up on the leaderboard early. Yeah. Clixiamzo, Batman Booga, trying to rotate in from the north, taking advantage of a lot of the teams that rotate next to them. It's part of their game plan. They don't necessarily like to
Lucas.
box chaotic fight unless they absolutely have to, or just have a super advantage to go for like a pre-piece or something.
Clicks on the move right now. Eyes on Magma. Lost him for a second there. Joshy's got the high ground from this major city here. Batman Booga setting up a little bit of a side angle, gets punished for it, unfortunately. As Void Oni Mask is out, so he'll be able to teleport if he has to.
They know if anybody's up there, they got to move towards the south. They're just kind of hoping they move in their direction. But we can see on the mini-map, they're choosing to rotate a little bit towards the west before they make their downward pull towards the south and inevitably return. And that's where it's kind of up to Clixiamzo, Batman Booga. They have a little bit of a better position. They can cut them off, or they can kind of rotate directly in towards zone and get a better position.
Jumping in with Beasts. Full team down right now. Makes them probably regret their decision to land at the Magic Mosses if can't get the pickup here, but off to Reboot Van we go. Deep into the storm here. There's a team waiting. Little does he know, likely another team trying to play for a pickup here shortly. It's Aiden, Hound, and Higher. We knew that they were going to have to force a fight given that they gave up their contested drop. Teams have backed their way out. And it's looking very, very good for them right now as they get to secure this elimination here. That's going to be a 2 special piece right there. And off they go, rotating south now.
It's just
barely
tough.
cost them anything.
Yeah, it's just tough for you can see the solo player. in the mini-map. No matter what happens here, the zone's going to continue to pull towards the south. You have to be able to move quick, loot quick, whatever shambles are left over, and that's how one of the eliminations came to be. It's a great job from that trio to kind of realize that they're all separated as solos and to act quickly.
We got Ayo, Toronto, and Liam playing a little bit of high ground here. They're inside the storm, though. Not too sure if it was safe to make the rotate. Out comes the Oni mask. It's going to be a big rotate there, leaving them completely exposed. See the shots coming in. Does seem like they have the team watching them out right now.
Okay, 57 points for this team, not necessarily all having the same mobility out of that last game. They're just kind of making it work with what they have. This time around, though, does seem a little bit easier. With the Void Mask, you see the fishing rod that they're hoping to utilize later in the game, depending on where the zone pulls. And since it is pulling towards the south, maybe it goes up towards Foxy. I do believe there is going to be some patches of water. You just got to be able to rotate there first before other teams get the same idea.
Another team watching from just outside, not too far off. Ducky, Cube, and Stacks here with the high ground. And we have the the fake Falcon, Peter Pot.
I think that's Jeff. I think that's Jeff. We all know how he can be at times.
Vai, cada
Oh my
velho.
gosh, in the lobby right now.
It's one of those things too. You see a team rotating in behind you a little bit late in zone. It pulls further and further away. They have to make the decision right now. How long do you stay here? Try to hold so many other teams that are in the same spot as you, or do you try to rotate out early? Try to get over that mountaintop, because you see there's already one team in the mini-map waiting on the edge of that mountaintop to try to get surge for all these teams that have to move up that elevation.
Now, this team here may be full-on trolling with their names, but their position in the tournament is super sound at this current game 2 here. They have so much material to work with. The loadout looking very solid here. They can push off most teams. Do keep in mind, Ducky's trio that was on the high ground barely had any mats. It seems like they have had a bit of a struggle here outside the Mass Meadow, and they're sticking around trying to see if they can actually find a refresh. Now, I don't know how I feel about this, as Jeff and trio are looking to jump in. Those wood mats are not going to save them for long, and an all-out war breaks out here, and it is not good. Casualties on both sides here as Cube falls, but Ducky with the instant res. Stacks trying to fight up top. Puts up a good defense here, buys themselves a little bit of time, and takes down Jeff with the knock trade there.
Thought it was going to be easy, run into a Typhoon Blade, but Stack still gets caught out. Fortunately, he was separated by himself. HQ Ducky, they were healing up, getting the revive. 385 above Storm Surge. All they need to do is survive this moment right here, but HQ takes a big shot. You know he has the possibility of going down to the Storm. They don't have a lot of HP to reheal in this moment, so they're just going all in. Now or never, putting it all on the line, and they get another knock onto Kaz, but just a little bit too late for the Siphon really making play. Direction, all for nothing, because everybody gets taken out.
Yeah, one player left here. Jirian fanboy.
Cara, safe tá tirando 5. E tem 80 vivo ainda.
Even with all that extra attempted help, but it's Toronto in team that seem to be pushing in right now. And oh wait, Exalt actually did make it out, so one of their teammates are still alive here.
Huh?
Out of the low ground, but what was the communication? It seems like he didn't recognize the trio was still sitting in the storm there, and down he goes. Well, look at this. This is going to surely jump up Toronto and AO. Continued.
Mas depois eu vou ter lá o campeonato de vocês. Eu vou ter lá,
Might be more though. I'm thinking about wait, there's more, because I see a solo player exposed down there. They're going to go back for that Mass Meadows reboot. As you see how that one came to fruition. Doesn't matter how strong your blade is. 2v1 in the same box to get the elimination. So it's going to be an interesting decision how long he waits as a solo before he tries to make a move.
Ei, é o FDS fudido do Fortnite.
Playing this mountain here for a couple zones is going to finally be forced to move as things start to pull west here. I do like this area for general endgame as we're leading right into Canyon Crossing here shortly. Other teams already set up as it seems like the islands have spawned in as well. Look at this, full team behind them right now as they're sitting on this launch pad.
Yeah, and typically I wouldn't necessarily like the launch pad, but you can see they're kind of set up with their surge base. It will be a short pad. This is kind of how that fight started. Look at the game. It almost seemed like Stack said, you know what, forget my shock and let me join in on the fun with the Typhoon Blade. There goes another slam right there. He is just going absolutely crazy. Kaz trying to sneak a shot on the other side, but by then, the damage has been done.
Yeah, it's looking like he almost clutched up 2 sets of eliminations there, but unfortunately, the reses ended up going through. Here we get to see what team took the high ground for the islands that spawn in. It's going to be Amplify, Lures, and Mississippi here. They need more damage. This is good activity happening below them. Really set themselves up. No points earned just yet for this trio here. So game 1 was a wash.
You got to really hope to get damage. You see them 141, 191, increasingly higher, because if they have to go down off of the arena to
FDF, menina, fodidos do Fortnite. Tá que nem eu com o sextou com S de limpeza.
That's right, can't telegraph it too easily. Team won't end up waiting for you. Meanwhile, Jingson and Andrew here. Just outside the
Tá na hora de botar skin de pro player.
surge battle. Back and forth here. Splash is starting to be used super early here, but Andrew lit up. Time to get out of here.
6 com gás com 6 de dano e 60 vivo.
This is probably going to spell the end for this trio here. If they can't find a fight or at least a couple tags here shortly. The arena's already pushed out. The arena islands are pushed out of the storm, so they need to be looking up or at least finding tags when this team's free rotating in front of them. And you can tell desperation is kicking in here. Sin doesn't even wait for his trio at all. He is full committing right now, trying to put the tournament on his back, but no. He is unfortunately not going to be able to do it. Doesn't look like Jinx is going to be able to...
Chapou, véi.
Back to the lobby there after earning their first set of 6 points. But it happens. It happens even to the best of us.
Yeah, I believe the early game, getting caught off guard, going down, forced to reboot, sent him so far behind. We're seeing the results of the Typhoon Blade in action. They're just trying to spray him down, but not without at least one of their teammates feeling the pain. Canyon crossing. Don't see a lot of fights going down over here. With the zone moving in this direction, sometimes push comes to shove, you got to do what you can. Cricket's down. Nox is able to get at least one elimination, trying to gather as much space and loot as possible while picking up the eliminations. Those points are crucial, and with the zone moving in, he realizes, I cannot be the hero. I have to go on as a solo.
Yeah, I like that play right there. Just gets out, finds himself a nice secure set of eliminations, and now it's just play for the storm here.
Eita.
That was a bad Void Oni throw there. Got to find a little bit more headspace, but teams up above are not really allowing him to do so. There he goes, and just inching his way forwards right now. There's that team that's on his heels now, starting to push up. It's not looking good for Nox.
It's just tough. He's almost forced to wait for all these other teams to rotate first. He's 449 above the damage threshold, so at least he has that going for him, not really having to worry about damage on this rotation, but you can see how it started. Smoke went down. He's trying to make a play, gets that first knock on the Zeus. He goes all the way around and gets another drop onto Tony.
Promoção.
Playmaker, man, because he is putting in work.
That was perfect. That was a very...
Shopee patrocina nós.
Find the opportunity. Doesn't get easier than that. Meanwhile, we got Verge, Kyan, and WTJ Steph Curry right now cooking it up here. This is a very interesting end zone right here, going straight into the Shogun Solitude. And look at the way it's playing out, right? We're talking like a lot of terrain at play here.
A lot of different elevations. I feel like I can count on one hand alone how many times it's ended up here. So Wrench has been thrown into the Misks, and it's honestly exciting to see at the same time. See how a lot of these teams deal with this, especially on the side of the mountain, getting focused. They quickly try to maneuver out, but a team that we saw above Surge quickly find themselves below, and that's visuals. That's Brazen, a Minish on the other side. Steph Curry with the first shot, and he hits it, downs onto a Minish. The other teammates are still alive. They're still putting down pressure, trying to save the day.
This is all in a matter of moments as the rotate is going through. Take a look at that. Went from 6 points on up to about 6 eliminations. Meanwhile, Clicks, Eobzo, and Batman Booga remaining calm, right? Even amongst all this battling happening around them. They still haven't picked up a set of eliminations. They've managed to barely stay afloat here on the surge damage, and again, this is not what we expect of them. However, they have been slow and steadily making their way into endgames, and these critical moments now, that's the refresher this team's going to need here.
Yep, quickly moving through the build, making as much space as possible. Yep, that's teamwork really making the dream work. He has a lot of those HP heals, doesn't want to use too many on his way back, especially if he does. He wants to make sure to get the full effect, use it with the team. Not too much missing now, but another tough rotation to go.
I thought for a second they were going to take the zip line and just destroy all the builds straight to the top. Hey, anything is possible at this point here. A little glimpse of what's going on there. Look at the congested side on the north there. That's what happens when it starts pulling up and out of the canyon there. It is straight vertical terrain at play here. Meanwhile, Cease and crew get the first dibs here on the new territory. Now they are using their void only mask to rotate very early, so they're likely effectively giving up the high ground here. Most teams will want to throw it late so you can build on top of it. So I am interested to see who's going to come out on top after this entire exchange is over.
I feel like you're reading my mind right there, because this next zone, as it does pull down, that's all fine and dandy, but you can see towards the west, see towards the east. If the zone pulls there, it's going to go up the mountains. It's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. Anybody that chose to go for the low ground is hoping for a north or south pool.
It looks like Ree and Bryce might be the first teams to go for high ground here. Cease opting to play that mid ground there. You can see he's just trying to make his way up this mountain a little bit, but Jack is left behind now. Finally, they do get to one another, and they are just trying to figure out.
Fala, Matheus. Salve, Matheus. Tamo junto, mano.
Meanwhile, Ree and Bryce do have the high ground as a duo here. No Vert alive now, and look at this. They haven't even earned themselves any eliminations this game. It's going to bounce right back in the direction in which they came. I love that they're taking the time to farm here. That's going to make a huge difference for them.
Yeah, and if they can position themselves early, we saw it in that last game. Not too many teams have the ability to look up on that high ground team because of all the chaos. And then now you add in the fact we're moving back up those mountains that we
E aí, Matheus, quem tu acha que leva essa?
Nobody is going to have an easy road throughout this next rotation.
Look, and Ree and them only had 2 uses left on only mass, so they do have to be very, very cautious on how they end up utilizing it. So we're only in zone 9.
Not going to be too forgiving, but Encrypted and Sales trying to hold on to their spot on the leaderboard from all the way on the southeastern part of the map, making their way over.
They're just going to build it out. They're going to try to
Ai,
hammer this
velho.
one out with mats from the high ground here. Let's see if it ends up working out. Clixie and Batman Booga have everyone in a barrel down below them. Onto their layer is going to be a huge mistake here for Encrypted and Sales. We already know Sales
vai.
have a
Ai,
mask, so he was slowing down Encrypted's rotates there, and it just turns into pure punishment now.
Ai, eu não sei quem é vocês, mas matou o Goku, fiquei feliz, velho.
He's starting to focus up the high ground here.
This is the stage of the game right now. 16 teams still alive. We're barely starting to get into placement, so there's a lot of pressure put onto Encrypted with his teammates going down. Batman Booga, Clicks, Yamzo, they have an opportunity to look down and they find another elimination. They know they need these resources. They're looking to make it far in this game.
This is very interesting. Yamzo makes the call, get down here.
Nossa,
get those
velho.
materials and keep playing it out, but it's going back up the mountain. Mistakes may have been made. We'll see if they have enough gas in the tank to get up top. Aiden and Hound come flying up and under, but Bryce and Reed playing a 2-man defense here from up above have to be careful. And Bryce is all the more scared of how he's seeing all these players come up. Yep, he ends up giving it up. 30 mats, no mats now. Make it count here. Meanwhile,
Véi, eu ganharia FNCS, velho. Tentava chegar no final escondido com uma bazuca, começava a quebrar as construções e esconder todo mundo. O pessoal ia cair de lá e ia morrer. É a água, gente. Bebam água.
Making a tough rotation, including the high ground. This is their chance to put pressure down on all these teams, get them to waste those resources so when the end game happens, they can take it with ease.
One of the only full trios left above have high ground right now. Yamzo, Batman Booga have the mats to play this one out, but they're going to continue to play the low ground here, play for positioning, and most importantly, the eliminations here on the front side of the zone. Plenty of heals to go through as well, as they're going to start to look to recoup themselves. Yamzo looking for the edit here. Nothing comes through. Will they break the high ground team? I mean, at this point, they just need to find a moment here to breathe. But Shadow, Tyler from the Flooded Frogs, all the way down to Shogun Solitude, still in the game right now. Still have a chance, but they have no material left.
It's just
Meu
that the
Deus,
time
velho. Ah, não
you
consegue
have so many
sair.
teams
Não
that
foi.
went to shreds, missing one or two players on their team, forced to have a couple players clutch up. Tyler, Shadow, they're two players I talked about there consistently, and now it's time to make it work. Two big shots, make it three as Hound goes down. A much-needed elimination. He's going to get the siphon, the material, a pick-me-up
É
opportunity.
doente, velho.
To the high ground.
But let's see if he ends up focusing height. That's what I want to know. Is High Ground going to be able to walk away with this, or will a chance open up here? Tyler and
Eita.
Cody keep fighting through. It's all up to Shadow now. Onto
Vai,
Luca.
vai,
He
vai,
ends
vai,
up
vai, vai,
pushing.
vai,
Yamza with a
vai, vai, vai,
monster
vai.
shot there, but no elimination comes through. It's up to Batman Booga, the healthy one, to hold things down now in the low ground. He is out of material. Yamzo's got everything. He tries to drop him a heal. Yamzo finds Shadow there. Payback in the exchanges, and it is all going down right now. How is Yamzo still alive here? Siphon is keeping him in the game, but in the end, a second place for Batman Booga. Clicks and Yamzo there, and our
É
high
sobre,
ground
velho.
teams do seem to take home game number 2 for the win.
As construções dos doentes. Vai falar em doente, essas construções me lembram o Lucas e o Canis, velho. Ó, Lucas e Canis, ó.
I'm just watching the health fly back up. I couldn't believe it. Kicks, Crook, and Totem got extremely lucky.
Tá louco,
with the way
velho.
things played out, but they played it masterfully from up above, putting pressure down relentlessly, not giving the low ground teams a chance to actually bounce back. And look at this, Kicks goes with the full commit with no mats, cuts off Batman Boogie, doesn't see it coming, and just like that, they win the game. Congratulations, match number 2 is going to go to Kicks, level 1 Crook and Totem.
Tottenham, Life 1 Crook e Kicks em 13. É petista. Kicks é petista, é 13.
Have Monster Deface. It's game of Fortnite. I love the chaos that we
Eu sabia
see
que ele
in
era
these
Biden.
games. They're so crazy. But again, we're seeing the same thing happen. High ground winning games, which is crazy, Kelly and Vivid, because you would think that's not the case, right? You think these Void Oni masks kind of make that something you can kind of manage, but for Kicks and company, they're like, hey, we'll just hold it down. You guys fight down below. We'll get a victory royale. And now they're going to the Major 1 finals.
Well, just like what we saw in game 1, the team that was holding high ground for majority of the early moving zones did eventually drop it, and it's really the teams that are kind of paying attention to not just the action that's going on low to middle ground, but also paying attention to that high ground, realizing when teams are getting weak up there and then taking advantage of that, using the Oni mask to be able to teleport up there and then hold the high ground from around zone 10, zone 11 on.
Yeah, I mean, I felt bad for Rio watching that game. They positioned themselves so well on the east side of that zone and ended up pulling west all the way over to Shogun Solitude, right? So the take here for this team was pretty easy, being that Reed was just a duo with very minimal mass up. But this is one of those instances, Zeke, right, where it's like, listen, we're here for the win. A win is a guaranteed final spot. But then it's like, we just watched Batman Booga and Yamzo clutch up as a duo while Clicks was down and just pick up so many points in such incredible fashion that we've got to go ahead and shout that out too.
Yeah, that's right. We'll break down that and more after this short break because there's so much to talk about after that last game. But stay tuned. We'll see you just a little bit.
Voltamos em 3 minutos então, tropa. É isso aí.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the FNCS. We just got done with game number 2, which means we're about to enter that halfway point. Remember, we only have 5 games today, and that will kind of wrap up group number 1. So a lot of things to talk about after that last game, but a big shout out once again, Kicks, Level 1 Crook, and Tottenham.
Voltando para a terceira partida, hein?
They're going straight to the Major 1 finals. But let's talk about some other things we saw in that last game, like Iamzo and Batman Booga. We saw Clicks kind of go down, and then they're just running around as a duo, and a lot of other duos kind of put in a similar situation, in the like shambles kind of situation they're in, would kind of crumble. These guys, the complete opposite.
Yeah, I mean, any one of these players here could easily solo clutch, and that's exactly what we saw from Iamzo and Batman Booga. Although that's not necessarily solo clutch, that's a duo clutch. Iamzo really was the star of this game right here, getting Elam after Elam. The amount of aggression that we got to see from them, even when Clicks did go down right here, did not slow them down at all. They understand that if they're going to be in the low ground, if they're not going to be able to go for the win here, then they need to get those elimination points to hold up consistency.
It was actually huge, right? We saw Iamzo get cracked too, right when they got down to the final moments of this game, but quickly picked up 2 eliminations after that, right? So Siphon was a huge part of actually being able to continue to play out this game. That's going to be the first of the 2 right there. Iamzo instantly able to go into the storm and kind of pick up those materials to solidify those further placement points right there. Just an incredible clutch out of that duo right there in the end game.
Oh no, everyone has moved except for Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Iamzo, who are still in 4th place.
Vivid, why did you curse us? But listen, Kelly, theoretically, right, or I guess in some ways, they're in 2nd, right?
O Villa Rex, Richard Brides e Amistad fizeram 20 kills na partida. Então em terceiro.
More on that later, don't worry about it. Right now, Clicks, Batman Booga, Iamzo, after that game, they're basically in 2nd place. A few other duels we saw, though, Shadow, Tyler, and Curve. They're currently in 7th place after that last game, but we also saw them in that last kind of top 3 situation. I love kind of seeing the different trios and how they're kind of adapting, how they're looking to approach some of these end games. I mean, at the end of the day, Fortnite is like a resource management game, right? What can you take with you to the very end, and how do you kind of manage with what you have? These guys did well. They're currently in 7th, right? That's striking distance.
Yeah, especially considering the fact that they're landing all the way over in Flooded Frog, so that was quite a rotation that they had to make all the way in Shogun Solitude. But, I mean, again, Curve going down, that didn't slow down Shadow or Tyler at all. They were able to kind of control this middle ground right here and use to the advantage of where the zone was pulling.
Yeah, I mean, one of the craziest things that I actually saw amongst this clutch that this duo had was Tyler ended up getting caught in the back of the zone, right? Ended up having to use